Hello folks and welcome to Tippcast with myself Shane Stapleton and the head of sport and Nina Guardian Shane Brophy. We're talking all things Tipperary again today, Shane. Obviously we'll have Anthony Shelley on to talk about the football. Geraldine Canaan will be talking about the Camogie, and there's plenty of hurling to talk about too. Where would you like to start?
I suppose Warranty comes on, I suppose, last weekend. I suppose you want to be reminded of it. It was a very, very good North Under 19A hurling final, 323 to 225. Toom beat Bursley after extra time. So I don't live too far away from McDonagh Park, but you could hear the excitement. I was standing outside, like for a grade like that was. They weren't sure how it would work in the new system where if you had to play so many maybe young lads midweek and big matches at the weekend of the champion at senior championship or intermediate. It seems to have worked pretty well, and we got a classic.
Yeah, I mean, why'd you have to bring that up straight away after we started the show? But there was so many players who stepped up in that match. I'll just go through the scorers first. So like you said, 323 to 225 after extra time. Dara McCarthy scored 111. Liam Hackett came on, scored a couple of goals. Austin Duff 5. Jack Dorn from midfield scored 4. Jake Hackett a couple, and Jack Hogan 1. On the Borough side, Paddy McCormick scored 15. Paddy Brett 2-1. Owen Boyle 6. Dara Shute 2. Cathal Kennedy 1. And Shane, you could see some of the players were half collapsing before the very end of it. They put everything on show here, a good crowd in Nina and everything, and in many ways, I was thinking, this is a good sign for what's to come in the next few years from these clubs.
Yeah. It was a lovely, I suppose, a nice photograph on the back of the paper there this week. I think I've sent you the screen grab of Cathal Friends, and I think he's the Bursley counterpart at the final whistle. Just a great honour among rivals, after a great game like that, and I just caught the very, very end of it, and sometimes you maybe see maybe a little bit of disgruntlement or maybe from the team that loses in agonising fashion like that. But there was none of that. I think there was a great respect from the two teams, that in fairness to Darragh McCarthy, just the timing of it, and I suppose the last that free, but I suppose McCarthy stuck it over, and to Toom go to spoils back-to-back under 19 North Championships, which just shows you they're coming along nicely. It's not just Darragh McCarthy that's coming. You have Austin Duff, great to see him back and performing well after his injury, and you see the impact he made in the All-Ireland final when he came on. Just if he hadn't got injured for needing the CBS just after he came on in that All-Ireland semi-final, would he have got them over the line that day against Rayfields? And Jake Hackett at centre back, another lovely talent coming through. So, but not to forget Boris Lee. I suppose this team has been coming up along. Not just Paddy McCormick. You have Owen Boyle is another cracking player coming. I suppose for both clubs, if you're for the here and now, you want to be winning championships. But for the future, if you can keep guys progressing, they're really coming along nicely.
Yeah, I thought Tom Delaney was very, very good at centre back. Lars Stapleton caught some lovely ball. He was very physical there at full back. You've already kind of mentioned Owen Boyle, and he was brilliant at centre forward. His ability to just turn and go at the opposition, sure, it's a nightmare to deal with if you're Toom in that situation. But Austin Duff has those snake hips. You just can't coach that. There's a lot of stuff you can coach, but his ability to get the ball and be elusive while he's trying to collect it, really, really impressive. And I thought Paddy Grind did quite well on Darragh McCarthy at times, and there's other times when the ball comes in and it's very, very difficult to do anything with a player who's as elusive as him. So just some of the comments here. 2 serious under-19 teams, great games, says River Power. And David Hogan says, lads, Toom had 38 players on their panel according to the programme. Isn't that unreal for a rural club? Every young lad in the parish plays hurling. Strongholds are always strongholds. And then just follows it up with Tom Delaney is quality. Brendan Cummins needs to keep an eye on him. No doubt he will.
Yeah, and I think, like I say, the 38, I'd say that 38 probably includes all their members of their under-17 panel. And I do admire Toom. I do see some other clubs and parents to be reticent. My lad is 16, he's too young for under 19. Young lads just want to be part of a group. I just think let them let them experience it. Okay, they mightn't play, but let them be part of the older group. Let them learn from the Darren McCarthy's of this world, and let them feel part of what's like. They're inculcating maybe a passion for hurling, and okay, maybe some of them mightn't go on to play senior for Toom, but they might be valuable junior A's or junior B's down the line, or junior C's. And like every club needs players to fill in all teams at adult level. So like fair play to Toom, like they really seem to have their house in order again over there.
Yeah, it was agonising though, because Burris went 5 ahead during extra time. And I thought to myself, great chance here now to see this out. Especially, like, I don't know if you've ever been on a pitch in a match when you're like 5 down and there's very little time left, or like players are absolutely shattered at that stage, tired, and you're in the middle of extra time. 5 points psychologically, it feels like it could be 20 points.
Yeah.
And I suppose just Burris were hit for the sucker punch. Tom Delaney, he went soloing up the pitch. Probably could have let it go first time, but then when he decided to carry it, he didn't really have anyone to lay it off to. And eventually, it's very tough when you're soloing up the pitch and there's nobody to give it off to. Turned over and it's goal at the other end. So I'm not putting it his feet or anything like that. But it's just one of those things, the way it panned out, that Toom were able to capitalise on the lad who was probably defying him so much at centre back the one time he was out of his area, and that was just a devastating blow. Like, a goal is huge, momentum, everything, in extra time, and like, you just have to credit Toom. The way they found a way over the line was very impressive.
Yeah, and I just wonder the fact that the under 19s are managed by their senior management, how important that is. Like, you see other clubs and maybe the same management might double up with their junior team, but like it was a clever move by Toom, like, to have them double up with their under 19s, because I suppose the under 19s play midweek with the senior matches at the weekend, so like they're able to monitor loads, they know lads what's coming, they're able to earmark lads, and even the likes of Jake Hackett, and like I would have been maybe suggesting a few times on this show building up to games, would Toom bite the bullet and maybe start Jake Hackett at senior level, because he always was coming on around 40-45 minutes and making a big impact. You think, when do they let this guy loose? No, they're playing the long game with him, like, and they're using him, they're monitoring, they're using these minutes, and it's look, that Ken Dunn really seems to think is planned out very, very well over there at the moment.
Yeah, Colfriend was another player that impressed, I have to say. So yeah, absolutely brilliant win for Toom, and credit to all the players on both sides who contributed in that match. And then Killer One won the
we can say that they're playing their county semi-final next Sunday. I think they're playing Holy Cross. Are playing Thurles Sarsfields tonight in the mid-final. So whoever wins that, it's going to be a cracking semi-final in Templemore on Sunday. Like, if it's Thurles, like, you have Ewan Murray, Killiam and Og, all those brilliant tip. If it's Holy Cross, you have Robbie Ryan and a few more of those lads, and it's a repeat of last year's final, I think. Yeah, which Holy Cross won by a couple of points in Borrisoleigh. So whichever it is, it'll be great. It'll be a cracking semi-final. Well, assuming there's a result tonight between Holy Cross and Sarsfields.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You're talking about under 19 mid-final, and there's some of those names that are known beyond the borders of Tipperary. Obviously, within Tip, a lot of these players are well hurled. NLR says Toom are a big parish and we're always traditionally strong at the A grades, hence the big panel numbers. They also have the Junior A North final to come this Friday to highlight their upward path.
Yeah.
Are they just a club that are going to keep coming now?
I think they will. Like, I think you have a bit of momentum going, like that their seniors are incrementally improving. Getting to a semi-final last year was a step forward after maybe a couple of fallow years. Juniors are competitive. They just, I suppose, there was a year or two there where they're down in the Seamus Arena, and I suppose that was probably the time they really got their house in order again at underage, and they're building incrementally again, like, so, which is I suppose it's very sustainable in the long run.
Yeah. Okay, then the under 19B, Killer One got the job done against Newport.
Yeah, comfortable enough, and I suppose they were the dominant team in the championship all the way through. And you just look at the grading and maybe the scorelines, you think, okay, could Killer One, how competitive would they have been in A grade? But I think looking back through the years, they were always this level sort of a team. So I'm sure, look, in terms of Killer One and going forward at under 19 level, and particularly at senior level, because they're kind of still it's kind of still riding the same sort of players from over the last few years. There's not too many fresh faces coming in at senior level. So like to have a crew of under 19s coming that have the potential maybe to kick on over the next few years. But the likes of Brian O'Mara is there. I think he got a game against Toomevara a few weeks ago. Like they're building nicely again. Like that's a big one now. 322 to 110 over Newport. And I think during the week they beat, was it Burgess or I can't remember who did they beat during the week in the semi-final. So look, yeah, they're coming along nicely as well.
Yeah, and just the scoring in that game, Michael Cleary scored 13 points, Tommy O'Mara scored 3-2, Brian O'Mara 4, Killian Healy 2, and Michael Henley scored 1. Just the comments coming in then. David Hogan says, Tommy O'Mara, Michael Cleary and Shane Cleary will all play senior for Killarwan next year, and adds that they have an under-17 final against Toom coming up. River Power, Toom have all their ducks in a row. They just need to break the Killadang and Hoodoo, who seem to have it over them at the moment. They have it over a few clubs, though.
They do, they do. Yeah, the Kildangan just seems to be interesting to see if they can to break it Friday night in the Junior A final. I think they'll have it all to do. Kildangan have a strong team. I suppose they were only Premier Intermediate 2 years ago. They're going well, and I suppose they still had the Dan O'Mara on that junior team. They haven't used them at senior level yet. So, that'll be a good final in Bursley Friday night.
Yeah, so we're due to get Anthony Shelley on at some stage to talk about the football, but we might talk about the preliminary quarterfinals coming this weekend in Tipperary. So there's the Premier Intermediate prelim quarterfinal between Cashel, Kincormac and Borlahan Douala, and in an intermediate you have Drummond Inch's second team against Burris O'Kane. So we might start off with that Premier Intermediate, Cashel, Kincormac against Borlahan Douala. Just for people who wouldn't have seen too much of them, you might tell us a little bit about each.
I think it's going to be a massive crowd in Dundrum on Sunday. Like these are two neighbours that don't play each other very often because of their divisional rivalry. But like a lot of the Boherlahan players would have gone to school in Cashel, so I'm sure they'll be really up for this one. And like I think the winner of this could get a real bounce into the knockout stages. Like nobody wants the extra game, but like if you win it, it's a real bonus, provided you don't pick up injuries. And as a commentator for River Power about Dylan Fogarty, he got injured for the under-19s last week, and yeah, he's a loss. Like particularly a youngster like that, and you're trying to maybe tie down maybe the likes of Oisin O'Donoghue and Nolan Connolly and the Jar Browns. There's real momentum behind Boherlahan after winning intermediate last year. I had a feeling that once they came up, they'd probably go straight into the knockout stages. They had enough talent there. The O'Dwyers, Dara Hickey still going well. Ewan Ryan, Tomas Ryan. So, but I suppose that you would think, looking at the talent that Cashel have, they'd be favourites. But Cashel have been forced to use the preliminary quarter final because they only finished third in their group behind Anacarty and Gortnahoe. So, like for all that, I suppose they have a lot of names that have done a lot of hurling for Tippett underage, but maybe they're still maturing. I suppose the Owen Connolly's probably their oldest one at what he's still only 23, 24. Like so, Devin Ryan, Ger Brown, like they're probably lacking maybe a bit of experience at the top end, maybe around the 30-ish mark. But like they got to a county semi-final last year. People were tipping them again, maybe to be one of the contenders. And I think if they get through this one, they're probably the draw nobody wants in a quarter final.
And like even back to like Cashel and trying to like, is there anything about bedding the team together or pressure that came on the back of like a few of the players transferring over from Knockavilla?
I'd say there probably is, because there was a lot of focus on them. Like they weren't just getting any players; they were getting 4 players that wore Tipperary jersey at underage level. Like so, like they were a decent pedigree. Like so, and
did it make them pantomime villains in a way, or even the players themselves pressure on them now because of it?
It was probably there for a while, but I think that's what we're 2 or 3 years down the line. I think they're well settled in at this stage. I suppose they've probably been unlucky with the likes of Ger Brown picking up a few injuries over time and maybe not being able to see the best out of them. I suppose it is getting that getting them to gel. Like when they're good, they're very, very good. Like I would have seen them a couple of times over the years. Like they really knit it together very well. But sometimes they can be a little bit vulnerable. And I thought, looking at them the last day against Anacarty, I thought they were very poorly disciplined at the back. That they gave away a lot of silly frees, like just tugging at a jersey and grabbing, like just if they can tidy that up, like they have a lot of physicality back there. Like just use it positively. Like if opponent gets possession, just the first option shouldn't be to foul. Just if they can tidy that up, cut out maybe the silly frees they conceded, because like they do have the firepower going the other way. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and for Borla and Duala, who won the intermediate final last year against Golden Kilfeacle, like that's a fair, and like you did it before as well, where you go up a division and straight away you're impressing. So, I mean, they're not going to come into it with any lack of confidence, because like by and large they've been winning over the last year and more. No,
that's it. Yeah, and and I think that the gap between in Premier Intermediate and the top end of Intermediate is not very great. And that's not saying that, because I suppose we did it last year. Once you get used to it, there is a little rise, but it's not insurmountable. And look, they've been good they got through they beat Gortnahu in the mid-sem quarter final. Okay, got beaten by Sarsfields in the semi-final and lost to Sarsfields in the group stage. It looked like, okay, I suppose you go in those two results, Sarsfields have they look like probably the team to beat, all right. But then, look, they beat a Clonakilty team in the first round, who are a very, very seasoned outfit at Premier Intermediate level. Beating struggling Newport team the last day. But like I would think, like they have really nothing to lose. Like they're going to be underdogs going into the weekend, but they'll absolutely have no fear over Cashel. I think they'll really go after them. And I'm not sure who's that team. I think this could be this one could be a spiky one, because maybe the fact that, as I said, you don't have too many. These teams don't play too often, so I suppose maybe a lot of old school rivalries might come into play. But and the fact that there's just not too many games on this weekend, I think it'll draw a big crowd to Dundrum on Sunday. Yeah,
River Power says, there's been a few games where Cashel look like they're going to break, but Owen Connolly always pulls them together, in fairness to him. If the Éire Óg saga of games doesn't bring Cashel on, nothing will. What about then the intermediate clash of Drummond Inch and Borrisokane and Dala? That's 2:00 on Sunday.
Yeah, this is a hard one to call, because like, while it would be great that Borrisokane got through and they beat Kilsheelan in the group stage, and it was a notable scalp in itself, but that Kilsheelan team was not related to the team of a couple of years ago, just with the players that were missing either through suspension or injury. And you're still trying to gauge how good are Borrisokane. But look, you can't throw away the fact that it was a notable win, and a team will get confidence in that, and they'll grow. Like, and when you have a player like Oisin Larkin who can score 112, and you have Gary Ryan to come back, and on his day he's an absolute handful in the forward line. I suppose the worry for Borrisokane would be Kieran Foley. He picked up a head injury in an under-19 game last week, and there's worried about concussion, and it'll be interesting whether he might be ready in time. And we know how serious concussion is, so if he's not able to feature, he'd be a loss. And like, because like Drummond Inch at second team, like I was just looking back to some of the players that have like Liam Ryan, a very seasoned guy from senior level years ago, Michael Purcell, Colin Cannan, like there were a lot of guys that would have played at an awful lot of senior hurling down through the years. So I say I went a cautious nod towards Borrisokane, but like just like Drummond Inch got to the semi-final 2 years ago, and like just the fact that Drum also they're out of the senior hurling. This is the last team in it, so they'll be able to put all their focus into them. I think their juniors are finished, might be finished as well. So like they can really go after this now, so they can.
Okay. Well, look, will we move on to? Oh no, we have Anthony Shelley with us there. Anthony, how are things? Looking well in the Paris Saint-Germain jersey.
Yeah, sorry lads. Thanks.
How are you this morning?
I'm all right. Yeah, sorry, a bit late.
You're all right. You're all right. we're just talking there about the Tipperary Championships, and we just said we'd move on to the football. Like, it was another big weekend there. The likes of Kilsheal and Kilcash beat Brackens. Clonmel came up short against Mile Rovers. Ballina beat Upperchurch and knocked out the latter there. Can you talk to us about the football weekend?
Yeah. It's I suppose an interesting weekend. A few big games. First one I suppose I did with was the Kilsheal and Brackens, and Kilsheal won by 6 points and full value for it. They look a decent outfit. I've said it before. When Kilsheal get out of their own way and have to actually get a result and go for it, they're quite a good team. Sometimes I think when they play the Lockmores and the Clonmel Commercials, Mile Rovers of this world, that they get in their own way tactically, and it doesn't suit them. But 2 or 3 times now I've seen them where they've had to have a result and they just come out and go for it, and they have been very, very good, and that was the case last Sunday. Particularly driven on by the likes of Dara Brennan and Mark Keogh was absolutely superb, and Brackens had no answer for him. Granted, now Brackens did end the game with 12 men, and that's something that we'll have to look at. A bit of indiscipline crept in there, but Kilsheal in full value for their 6 point win, and at one stage coming up to the end, it looked like that Brackens could be exiting the championship. We thought if we lost by 7, we'd be out. There was about 3 minutes left. We had heard that our Finnan were winning in Grange Moker, and we were down to 12 men. We were really hanging on, but luckily enough, Kilsheal were happy enough to hold the ball, and then the word came through that our Finnan only drew. So that was important. The other, I suppose, the big game of the weekend was
Mile Rovers
and Clonmel Commercials, and Mile Rovers.
That's Mile Rovers have had their number this year, but this would have been Commercials nearly at full strength, bar a couple of injured lads. But Mile Rovers were still able to beat them, so it just shows that this is Mile Rovers are
yeah,
they're serious this year. They're serious contenders.
Yeah, they seem to be very well organised. They have a couple of new players, and they look very good. I think maybe the last time we spoke that I might have had a small little bit of a doubt in the sense that they only avoided the relegation last year on score difference, and I was kind of saying, right, they've had a good year so far, but it's been only shadow boxing. But last Sunday they show that they're a serious outfit, and probably you might be going overboard to say that they might be favourites for the championship at this stage. That's the 4th time I think they've beaten Commercials this year, between the league, the South Championship, and then last Sunday, and fully deserving of it.
Who's over Mile Rovers? They do seem to have their ducks in a row and organise. Maybe the scare of relegation, maybe last year, did they scare them straight to say, okay, we need to knuckle down here?
I'm not sure who's coaching them. I think John McGrath still is still the manager, but I'm not sure who they have coaching them. I think it's Niall Fitz's coach from the under-20s. I think is with them, and his name just escapes me at the moment. But he was with them last year, and I think he might be still with them.
Yeah,
Lockmore then they.
Yeah, go on there.
Sorry, Shane, go ahead.
No, work away.
No, I was just going to say Lockmore had to pull out all the stops to beat Arvale Rovers, Anthony.
Yeah, and from what I hear, it was a game. I didn't actually see this one, but from what I hear, it was a game of 2 halves. Lockmore left an awful lot of wise behind them in the first half, and in the second half, Arvale did the same. So yeah, they had to pull out all the stops. But you know what? I'm still going with whoever beats Lockmore will go a long way in winning the championship, because they had qualified, Shane, and you know yourself, right? Even though you can look at it, and I did wonder why they went so strong. They seem to have their full team out as well. That why they went so strong there. Maybe a rest into 1 or 2 lads might have been the wiser option, but that's not the Lockmore way. They always go they always go a full team. But even no matter who you are, if you're qualified, and there is a drop in your mindset and performance of 3 or 4%, it does probably make you vulnerable. And in fairness to Arable, they seem to have got their act together in the last few years and are beginning to come again. So it's good to see at least one West, the only West team, kind of getting to the quarter final.
And you think after that performance from Arable and just the way the knockout draw, I think they can only play Ballina or Kilsheelan, and they would fancy their chances in if they got one of them. If assuming the repeat pairings are not allowed from the group.
I didn't look at the way Dave, and I only kind of looked at the Brackens one, so probably right. We can only play Ballina, Lockmore, and Mile Rovers.
Yeah.
So if we come up against any other team, then they'll go back into the hat and draw again. So the same. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, Ballina or Kilsheelan is all they can play in.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they would be outsiders going into either of them, and I think Ballina will get stronger as the championship progresses. They would be outsiders, but they wouldn't be going in without a chance.
Shane, any other game you want to talk about?
I suppose it was Ballina's win over Upper Churchman last Friday night. The sort of late smash and grab with 2 goals. It looked like they were going out at one stage, and I think it was just another notable win for Ballina. Just with the injuries they have, and Stephen O'Brien hasn't played in the championship so far, and they've been able to get through. And I'm sure Stephen just seems to be absolutely crucified with injuries, that whether it's with Tip or Ballina. He picked up a knock against Silver Mines in the first round of the County Hurling Championship, and he hasn't played since. He's a big loss. But look, they got through it. Charlie King was back at centre back and scored 1-1. I think he's a cracking footballer. I'll be surprised maybe if Philly Ryan doesn't draft him into the seniors. And I know I think he's another year at under 20, but just to get him into the setup at senior level, because he's definitely one for the future. Jack O'Mahony got a goal as well. Brian Carson 2 points. It was for them. They have 2 weeks now to prepare. I know they're going to get if they can get their best team on the field. I suppose they're probably hoping they don't get commercials. They could draw, and commercials gave them a bit of a beating in the quarter final last year, and then you'd be thinking commercials after losing to Mile Rovers, there might be a bit of reaction coming when in those games. So look, I suppose for Ballina, it just keeps that sort of development going, in terms of football that they've been on over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I agree with that. Would you believe? I would say that might be last Friday night. Might be Ballina's greatest result in the football so far, because one, Upper Church are a very, very good team, and two, that Ballina played without Stephen O'Brien, Owen Power, Teddy Dial, and Michael Breen, and to be down to 4 of them for a team like Ballina is huge. So, they left it late, but it was a huge result from. They now have, what is it, bones of 3 weeks from the last game to get those injuries right. And I'd agree with you, Shane. They might have a hang up if they got commercials on the basis of what happened last year. But you know what? I think they might fancy themselves against anybody else. There's no history there. They've not.
They could get Brackens, couldn't they?
Sorry?
They could get Brackens, couldn't they?
They could, yeah.
I think the draws are to be made tomorrow night, I think. So I think that's the
first night,
yeah. So it's look, in some ways, I mean, Upper Church have been very strong the last few years. I just get the sense that probably don't mind being gone at this stage. I think that definitely their focus seems to be to get back up senior in hurling, and I suppose they if there was 1 year when they had a down year at senior football, they probably, and when there's no relegation, I'd say this was probably it.
No, yeah, I'd say they're not too bothered. They did very little done up there. In football, if anything at all. But I'd say they probably are strong favourites for the Tom Cusack Cup. They might have a go for that, just to say that they did something in football. They would be. They'd have to be favourites with the teams that so far. Upper Church are a good side, but the no relegation it suited Overchurch this year in the sense that they could. I mean, their main focus will be get back up to senior hurling, so they could take a year off and fully concentrate on it.
Anthony, do you expect Clonmel to come back to top form? Like 3 games, they have a win, draw, and a loss, but is there almost an inevitability that they'll come right, or will the loss of like Seamus Kennedy for the season, is that going to be felt throughout?
I think they're very, very vulnerable right now. No, they played the Seamus Kennedy, James Morris are out for a season, and they played last Sunday without Jack Kennedy as well, who has been probably their best player for him this year. I think they're very vulnerable. I think they're overcomplicating things at the back. They're getting back and they're all marking space, and it's kind of a busy fool syndrome, and everybody is back there, nobody doing anything. Mile Rovers, like, it's very simple when we go and play Mile Rovers, that the first thing that you have to do is pick up Liam Boland. He's a class act, and he just seemed to have the freedom of the park last Sunday, even though Commercials had 10, 11, 12 lads around the ball, but nobody was picking them up. So I think they're slightly vulnerable. But having said that, I wouldn't like to be the team to be getting them. I think they're vulnerable. Maybe when they get to if they could get themselves to Semple Stadium, they're always very hard to beat there with the kicking game that they generally try to implement. And at the moment, I'd only have them as maybe third favourites for the championship. I never thought I'd be saying that at the start of this year, but just think there's something not right. I think I said it about Kilsheelan before, that sometimes they can overcomplicate things, and I think that's what Clonmel are doing this year.
Shane, just in terms of what Philly Ryan, actually Shane has dropped off there for a second, Anthony, so I might just ask you. Philly Ryan was talking to Tipperary GAA, and it was put out on social, and he was talking about taking some of the games out of Semple Stadium, because I think basically he was saying, like, I actually read it out. When you come into Thurles and you see the Tip team coming out, there's a little ripple around the place. When you see other teams coming out, for instance, Sligo come out on the pitch last year, and there was a massive roar. And he was basically talking about maybe taking some of the games out of Semple and going to, I suppose, more the football hinterland.
I would have agreed with this for years. I would have said that this is what we should have been doing. Like, it's you're going, no matter who you're playing in Semple Stadium, we're outnumbered, right? So and particularly over the last year, and Shane would have been at a lot of them. You're probably only getting 100, 150 Tip supporters going to the games in Semple Stadium at the moment. Like, I mean, we all meet before the match or after the match, and we all know each other's names. Like, that's that's how small the crowd is. So no matter who we're playing, they're bringing more than that. So that's from the supporters end of things. We are a bit, and if the game gets anywhere close, it's the opposition supporters are driving on the team more so than because they're outnumbered. But also from a player's point of view, from an opposition player's point of view, Semple Stadium is probably the second, maybe third best surface in the country as well, with Páirc Uí Chaoimh and Croke Park. It's iconic stadium. Teams definitely from Division 4 don't get a chance to play in that stadium, and you're inspiring the opposition more so. That the Tip lads are used to it now. So, the opposition come down and have a look at it and go, God, I can't wait to play there. They mightn't have that feeling if they were coming down to a place like Ardfinnan, or even if you wanted to remain central, Moyne-Tabletui, you have a fine set up there, or even Clonmel itself. I would be all in favour of taking them out, but I still would use, I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I still would use maybe Semple Stadium as a championship venue.
What do you think, Shane?
Yeah, no, I would. I think definitely, while I think in Division 4, I think maybe if you're getting up to Division 3, Division 2, and you're really taking things seriously, you play it in your county ground. I think maybe in Division 4 you have the element of maybe taking the games around the county. Maybe you play one of them in Thurles just to get lads familiar with it. Maybe some of the new lads just ahead of maybe if you're playing a home championship game. But yeah, I would have thought the underage matches in Fethard this year were a huge success. The minor and under 20s, like big crowds in a small venue, and I do think like if Tip at a home game against Waterford last year, like Clonmel would get a good crowd, and maybe bring them around. Why not? Why can't Nina have a game? Like I think the novelty factor alone, like people say there's no interest in football. I think if you had a home game in Turla, I can't remember who's in Division 4 I'm not sure if Offaly were relegated or what, but like would Nina, Temple Toohey, like Bansha was a lovely venue last year for the Waterford game. Just it might be an opportunity just to maybe while we're in Division 4, maybe just to take it around the county, as say, make it a bit more difficult for other teams, and maybe then if you get back up towards Division 3, Division 2 in time, then maybe you go back into the stadium more long term. Like, so I do think there's something in that.
Yeah, I think if you want to, Nina, if you want to get young lads interested in football, or get people interested in football, rather than spending hours trying to persuade the likes of Boris Ali and Laura and Toomevara to start playing football, what better way than to take a National League game to one of the fields in North Tipperary and let people come and see what it's all about. And I suppose probably Nina being the obvious one, being the enclosed field and everything like that. But I think it's certainly worth trying.
Yeah. Like I would have thought. Okay, I was thinking maybe Croke Park mightn't allow, but I know it's Donegal go to 3 different grounds for their league games. They play one in Letterkenny, one in Ballyshannon, and one in Ballybuffet every year. So obviously, you don't have to pick one or two. You have each county has the flexibility to move games around. I've always found it amazing that Cork never play a league game in Clonakilty, like with the facility to have there and in their own heartland. Like that's always surprised me.
Yeah, and you remember last year when we went to Fermanagh, and it was changed at the last minute. So we went from Enniskillen out to, I forget the name of the place. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but lovely little setup, but it was still only a country ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Philly Ryan was also saying about you can't be foolish and think you're going to come in and change the world overnight. I'm not under any illusions. So that point, Anthony, plus also, are you hearing any talk of any players going in or maybe going out or maybe heading over to the hurling panel or anything like that, or is it too soon?
Yeah, I think it's too soon. I suppose the big worry I would have is that, some of the lads after the year that happened, that went on last year in the football, some of the lads might say, you know what, I'll take a year off and go traveling for the year. I haven't heard of any that might be doing it, but it certainly would be a worry. Look, you can't be under any illusions, but I think I was saying to somebody else yesterday, I worked with Philly before. I think if lads just stick around, give it a year, they will have the advantage this year of working with a very good manager. But I think the flip side of that is that I do believe that there is 20 to 30 good enough players in Tipperary to be competitive in Division 4. Certainly, maybe not quite get promoted this year, but be at the business and be in the conversation in the last week or two, unlike last year. So I think Philly also, while things don't look good, I think there is the base of 20 to 30 good players there that could take this Tip team on a bit of a journey if everybody buys in. So yeah, he's right, be under no illusions, but at the same time, I think we can be very hopeful for the future with him.
Yeah, and I think it would be important. I think it's not for a lot of Division 4 teams. You have to make the football they play enjoyable. It can't be a chore. It can't be ultra defensive. I think lads have, especially if you're going to commit at that level where maybe a lot of the rewards, there isn't as many rewards as maybe there would be in Division 1 teams and playing in front of big crowds. I think you have to make it enjoyable, make it energetic, and my fear is that it's like a lot of things with Gaelic football. The most successful trend will become the trend next year, and that a lot of teams will be following Armagh, and they're sort of half court defense and half course offense, or half pitch defense, like we're 15 men behind the ball, and then you can't really go anywhere. Like, so hopefully that won't be the case. Like, so.
Well, I know Philly fairly well, so it might be the case with other teams. It certainly won't be the case with us. I mean, when he said in his interview there that he wants to play in front foot football, and when they get the ball, they look up and look forward. Mm-hmm. That's exactly the way they play. Like, he will not be for taking a backward step. He won't be foolish either, but I would feel sorry for the two wing forwards on Philly's team, because he always asks them to work extremely hard. Mm. So they'll be the guys getting back up and down the field rather than having a blanket set there waiting for teams to come at them. So I think from the players' point of view, it will be very enjoyable to play. It's just hopefully that there are a few good young lads from the under 20s to step up, but they might need a year or two. But hopefully the guys from 25 to 32, 33, that age group, hopefully they all stay on, because they do. We have a really good team.
Laura says, what about acknowledging the great work being done in Ballina and bring a league football match to their ground, and it would promote the game in the North Division too?
I don't think the Ballina's ground would be up to inter-county standard. There's no seats in Ballina. I think you have to. It's on the face of it would be a good idea, but I think it has to be a certain. I would think inter-county you have to have a certain element of seating there for maybe for elderly people and stuff. Don't have it in Ballina. But like Nina's only 15-20 minutes out the road, so that would probably be if you were to play one, that would be in Tipperary, that would be the place to go.
Yeah, I think that there has to be seating. I think the two main rules is there has to be seating and the field has to be enclosed.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, look, thanks very much for joining us, Anthony. We'll hopefully chat to you again.
Sorry for being late.
No problem at all. So we've got Geraldine Canaan coming on soon to talk Camogie. Do you want to quickly do a power rankings of the teams left in the Tip Senior Hurling Championship?
Yeah, sure. We'll put our head at it anyway. I suppose I can officially talk about the top end because I'm not involved in it. Well, by relegation, but we won't be talking about that.
Well,
still no fixture for our match, Eddie. Coming down to it when it's on.
I'll be doing everything I can to get down. Hopefully, you'll be then facing into a relegation final.
Hey.
But let's go straight to it. Just all the teams that are involved on the left-hand side of the page there, obviously enough. But who would you be seeing as the number one challenger at the moment? I have to say I'd have Kildangan as number one.
Yeah. Look, they're defending champions. They're unbeaten. I suppose the only blemish is that they drew a Clonoulty, whereas Lockmore have won all their games. But like it's like a Kildangan have sort of done very, very. But then you have to think Kildangan 8 points down in that game against Clonoulty with no time left, and it still managed to come back and get a draw. So yeah, I think as defending champions, and they're still unbeaten. So I think they're deservingly number one.
It's just that it was maybe the wake up call that they needed. And fair enough, maybe you could say Clonoulty should have found a way to get over the line or whatever. But by hook or by crook, Kildangan did it. Yeah. And they haven't really looked back since. And look at that half back line launch pad and even midfield and then into the forward line. We haven't even seen Sean Hayes yet, have we?
Yeah, he's only played one game this year, and he's done, like, you think maybe after this Friday, after the North final is over, then O'Mara will probably come back into contention maybe for the knockout stages. They'll probably go all in then to try and regain the senior title.
Yeah. Who would you have as number two?
Oh, Lockmore Castellani. Like, they're 6 from 6 this year. Very, very, very consistent. They just okay, John Maher is away, but he missed last year. But they have everybody else. Ed Connolly is back. Kieran Connolly is getting more minutes game on game. They just they look the real deal. Like, if the only concern would be if they start picking up injuries. But as I say, they've done everything that's been asked of them so far this year, hurling and football. They don't have a preliminary quarterfinal next weekend, so they're getting that sort of mini break now where they can refresh and from their point of view, they'll be planning on maybe trying to go 6 weeks in a row in hurling and football into targeting county finals in both over the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, and like Kildangan have Mike Burris, so that's we're nearly assuming they're going to be towards the bottom of the list here, and Lockmore have Killarwan, which will also drop them down a bit. I'm just wondering where Thurles and Nina are going to come in the mix here, because we know they're facing each other.
I go Thurles Sarsfields 3. I think I'm still not sure about them, as I didn't think their group was overly difficult to look to handle their business. Maybe they're trying to time the run a little later, like they were flying at this time last year. Maybe they're trying to time the run a little better. Paddy Creedon is back from America, so while he hasn't started yet, I'm sure. Look, he'll feel like a fresh player over the next while. So like I do like Thurles at 3. I think this is where the fun starts, because there's not a mix and match between 4 and 8. I suppose just in terms of Toomevara, you probably have to go to, because they won their group, like Toomevara at number 4, like so. Like they're only, like they lost it. They were very, very competitive in the North final against Kildangan. When he lost to a late goal, and look, they did look a little hungover against Borrisley in the first day of the first half, and maybe they were caught a little cold, but they turned it around in the second half. Had enough chances maybe to recover that game, but ever since, like, I thought they were very, very good against Drum, and even in that difficult game against Killarwan, I never thought they would actually lose the game, even though there wasn't much between them. I always thought they'd find a way. So I think they're a good pick at number 4.
Yeah, I'd go nearly with Nina next, because like they tend to do quite well against Thurles, and over the years they've shocked them once or twice or been very close against them. So I would say nearly that. And like, I know they haven't been flying it, Shane, but like the talent is there, and they do have a game winner in Jake Morris.
But my only issue with Nina is that they've only beaten one team this year, and that's Laura twice. They've lost all the other teams.
Okay.
In terms of a power ranking, I'm tied between Killarwan and JK Brackens here. Like, how much do you punish JK Brackens for the Kildangan performance? While his Killarwan probably be more consistent. I probably will go Killarwan at 5.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. I suppose I'll
like they beat Borrisley. They were competitive against Toom. They beat Drum an inch.
Brackens also have the dual issue, and like,
yeah,
maybe their game against Toom could be tight enough, but
I think it will. It all depends on, are the defeats, even in football, are they starting to catch up with them? Like, I suppose they do. Paddy Cadell was back last weekend in the football, so like he should be right. Okay, I still think I give them a pass on the Kildangan match. I know it was a bad loss, but I think in the stadium now, with just the pace they have and their ability to move the ball, I think they'll be refreshed by. I think their body of work probably deserves 6.
Okay, I'd be thinking Mike Harkey probably be the last in this list here, not because they don't have quality, but just because they're up against Kildangan, and we'd expect them to.
Yeah, and I as well as I was just thinking, and just in terms of power rankings, that's why I have Nina, and that, like, they were very competitive against Lockmore, could have won that game, but they've had 2 wins, and one of them against the same club, and they've lost to Holy Cross, they've lost to Toom, and they've lost to Lockmore. So it's. I suppose it's in the games that the 50-50 games, you would have said Nina have lost them all this year, and that's my only. I think you have to be penalised for that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, delighted to say we've Geraldine Canan coming on the show, mostly to talk Camogie. But what do you make of that list, Geraldine?
Yeah, sure. It looks fairly spot on, really. I fancy Lockmore myself this year. I think just everything about them. It seemed to be going the right direction. Seemed to have some freshness about them with the new management team and everything. And they're just, I suppose, they're always hard bet,
Yeah. Okay. Well, look. Hopefully. Oh well. Like, it's critical enough that we've put a few noses out of joint with that, Shane, and hopefully you'll get a load of abuse online as well, but sure, that'll make it relevant too.
Yeah.
Geraldine, just in terms of the Camogie that's been going on in the championship, so far, have you been excited by the fare that you've seen?
I think in the opening round, the first round of the championship, I suppose Thurles Arsenal has beaten Clonty. It was the first time beating Clonty in the club's history. So that was, I suppose, the talking point. It's been Drum and Clonty the last couple of years. So I suppose everyone's calling out for a new contender. And, Thurles ran Drum very close last year in the semi-final. And, you were all kind of wondering, would there be maybe a bit of a second season syndrome, or are they going to build on that? And they certainly have set out a very early marker and shown that they're going to build on that, and they're serious title contenders now, beating Clonty in that opening game. Be interesting to see how Clonty respond now. They had a bye last weekend, and they have Cashel now this Saturday 6 o'clock in Cashel. So look, Cashel got a win over Silvermines in their first game. 12 points to 9, nothing really to write home about there. But look, it was a good start. It's a confidence builder for a lot of young players on that team, and it'd be interesting just to see how that game is. I suppose we don't really know where teams are at until they have a couple of games under their belt. But by the time we get to quarterfinal stages, it's definitely the championship will come alive, I think.
Yeah, like I do think it's important. Maybe we see the likes of maybe Cashel, and I think the Toomevara Burst League game is one that we see more teams coming to the top end, because I suppose the disappointment factor probably early on is that a lot of one-sided games like Thurles over Shannon Rovers. I thought that would be a little tighter. I thought Kickham's would be a bit closer to Drum and Inch last weekend. It wasn't the case. Anacarty, I thought would be a lot closer to Drum. It wasn't the case. Like, okay, Drum have handled their business, but you're just you just hope it's not a 3-horse race between Drum, Clonoulty, and Drum based on what we've seen, or Thurles based on what we've seen in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, I suppose the other side of that is, if Thurles are really going to be contenders against Clonty and Drum, they have to be putting the likes of Shannon Rovers to the sword. Shannon Rovers is only the first year up senior, and while they have plenty of talent, I think they have a bit to go to be competing with the top 3 at the moment. Cashel, I suppose, were looked like to be the coming team a couple of years ago, a bit like Thurles last year, and then seemed to fall away. Had a very disappointing year last year. I know they had injuries and ended up in fighting relegation, but so it's good to see them getting off their championship off to a winning start. Like they have a lot of players on paper, like Cream Blair, the 2 Fahis. Queeve Purdue was back from this year. I suppose he was missing last year. So, 1 or 2 players make a big difference. So you'd be hoping that they'll be in the mix. Bursley, then obviously they came very close to Clonty last year. So I'd be interested to see how they go against Burgess. But yeah, I know what you're saying, Shane. I think definitely Anacarty and Kickham's was disappointing how much they were beaten by Drum. I don't know, is there a bit of a mental block maybe with those?
Maybe Geraldine's connection has just stalled there a little bit.
Yeah.
I was looking at Thurles' score that they put up against Shannon Rovers there, 323 to 18, and I was thinking, I look here and Karen Kennedy will have probably scored a bucket load, but actually didn't score at all. So it just shows the spread of talent.
Like Thurles are coming. Like it's like they would have had a lot of very, very good players on minor teams, and the Ursuline and Thurles have been very, very strong at underage or at schools level. So like that they're coming and they're coming fast. Like I think they'll go very, very close this year. And then you have like a player like Karen Kennedy in your team. It's some shove on to them. Like I think they're away to Silvermines this weekend. The Mines very unlucky, like they've lost narrowly to Shannon Rovers and Cashel so far, and now you have maybe the deformed team in the group in Thurles coming this weekend. So it's been a tough start for the Mines, but they've been very, very competitive. Like, and I suppose that's the minimum you want. Like, although they found it very hard to score, they've only scored 19 points in their first 2 games. But yeah, I think I would have thought, yeah, definitely when we get to the knockout stages, I think we'll have some really, really good contests. And I think that just the overall standard, and you mentioned like 323 is very, very good score, and I just think the standard of Camogie is getting higher year and year. Like I would have gone to, especially maybe a lot down to junior grades for years, maybe Laura matches and a lot of rucks and stuff. And I was watching the Laura Templemore match Friday night, and just the quality of the ball play between both teams was just Camogie really the referees allowing more contact. I think it's allowed the game to develop, and particularly the last 2 or 3 years, it's allowed the players to show more of their ball skills.
Geraldine, then just Drummond Inches 328 against Knockavilla 12. Like Emer McGrath going to town again. I think she scored 215. I mean, what are teams going to do about her?
Yeah, look, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I might be shot in drum for saying this now, but I'm just always surprised when teams play against Drum that they don't just have a plan to try and curtail Emer. I mean, it's harder said, it's easier said than done, but they need to put their top defenders on her. Like she's in the form of her life, and she's pulling the strings there at the moment for Drum in the forwards. I mean, I know you could curtail Emer and you still have Mary Burke, and Ciara Cahill has made a really impressive start to her senior championship debut, and they have other options, but really, a lot of it goes through Emer. Obviously, a lot of her scoring is from frees as well, but there are a lot of frees that she wins too. So, look, she's a top class forward. She's Drum's markswoman at the moment, and clubs, they just have to put their best defenders on there. And I don't think Anna Carty or Kickham's did that in the opening 2 games, which I was very surprised about, to be honest.
And then another one I was looking at, Burgess 215, Aero Anna Carty 113. How strong are Burgess this year, Geraldine?
Yeah, look, I was very impressed with that result, to be honest. Anna Carty really needed a win after losing to Drum in the first game, and had the advantage of having a game. I suppose the other side, Burgess had the advantage coming and watching that and maybe getting their matchups right. But the thing with Burgess, I really do think, they love their camogie up there. They're sound patronising, but they nearly play above themselves. I think the management get the absolutely best out of them. I mean, Caoimhe Maher, Jenny Grace, their stalwarts, all that they've won, they still, they'll die in their boots every day they go out. Kieran McKeough there was lined out at wing back, and she only had her first baby there, I think, at the start of the summer, back playing, back in the team. I think she's captain and everything. They have some really key players, and I think, the younger players then on the panel feed off that and look up to those players, and they bring them along. But I suppose, Caoimhe Maher, Ciara Maher, and their younger sister now, Caoimhe Maher as well, they're 3 key players. The 2 girls got goals there the last day. Jenny Grace, obviously, from frees in the middle of the field. Probably don't have the strength and depth, if that was to happen, Jenny or Caoimhe, you'd have serious concerns for them. But look, they've their first game won. It'd be interesting to see how they go against Borris. That was a cracking quarterfinal last year. You'd think Borris probably have a bit more than them, have pushed on again, maybe again this year. But we'll have to wait and see how that game goes on Saturday as well at 3:30. So that will tell a lot, I think, about both teams and where they're at this year. But I suppose Anna Carty and Kickham's will be a big one too. Both teams have lost their opening game, so look, it's a matter now. You could be in a relegation or you could be in a quarterfinal, and I think if you get to a quarterfinal, everyone has a chance again. So it's only a small thing, really, could be the difference of having a right shot at a quarterfinal or facing down the relegation.
Yeah, I think you have to head away there, Geraldine, but we appreciate you jumping on for a few minutes there and giving us the latest in Tipperary Camogie. Yeah,
thanks, guys.
Cheers, sir.
River Power says sad passing of Nuala Nealon, their legend.
Yeah, no, it's very. She daughter of Donnie Nealon there, was died suddenly enough over the weekend. I'm not sure her removal is on this evening and a funeral tomorrow. So yeah, it's a sad time for the family. I know. I would have seen her over the years. I think she would have been a very popular character, worked in the Munster Council offices in Limerick, for years. So I think a lot of clubs and officials have dealt with her. And another one, Alan Faulkner down in Carrickdavins. I wouldn't have known him personally, but when I saw a photograph last night, I said, God, sure, he's nearly at every Tipperary match over. It doesn't matter where they were on, he was there. So. I don't know. It's a sad passing down there as well. So it's always sad when you lose stalwarts like that, and just an end of an era in terms of that. But it's Camogie is building along nicely there now. It's I said when we get to the knockout stages, I think we'll have some really when we get the good teams playing each other week on week, and I think we'll have some cracking games. So hopefully we won't see too many more one-sided games, but I suppose the strong teams have really put out their stall early, so that's the thing to say.
And I'll just recap on the fixtures coming this weekend. The Senior Championship Group 2 on Friday, Aero Gannacarty against Knockavilla Doneski Kickham's. On Saturday then Group 1, Cashel King Cormac against Clonolty. That's at 6 o'clock. Burgess Dahara against Burris-Lee. That's at 3:30. Sorry, that's in Division, that's in Group 2. And also, sorry, in Group 1, I just skipped over it by mistake there. Silvermines against Thurles Sarsfields. Anything else, Shane, before we finish up?
Not much at the moment. Yeah, it's sort of building up. It's sort of, you get to the latter stages of the group, there's a bit of a lull, but I'd say next week when we're building up to quarterfinals, probably same in a lot of counties. We're sort of in that latter end of the groups. Maybe Bar Waterford, who got their hurling final played last weekend, and I suppose Ballygunner 11 in a row. Geez, they're interesting to see can they go the whole way this year when they regroup in a few weeks' time.
As well, would it not be good to have the relegation clashes in Tipperary on this weekend? Like, it's the 3-week break. I mean, there's obviously the quarterfinals coming next weekend. This could be centre stage along with the two preliminary quarterfinals this weekend that we talked about, Premier Intermediate and Intermediate. They're both on at the same time. It's Sunday. There's loads of time to play these this weekend.
I thought maybe they would look to bring them forward a week, but I think they were always penciled in for the 14 and 15. I think maybe if you did, all we would have taken is maybe one club to object to say, okay, we had a player that planned to be away this weekend when we thought we wouldn't have a game. So I suppose, look, it is what it is, but like I think between let's say the Cashel Borlaughlin game will probably draw a big crowd. I think the under 19 semi, Toom against Holy Cross or Sarsfields on Sunday in Templemore will be a cracking game. So like there's not too many, but I still think there's going to be enough. There's going to be enough. Most clubs have some games across the weekend, and see the All Junior C is starting this weekend. Bursley against Laura on Sunday morning. That can't be good.
Big one.
Get lads out of the pub, like.
Yeah, that'll be the big one now. Okay, well, look, there's a huge amount of Tipperary GAA coverage in the Guardian, so go and pick that up. Other than that, we'll chat to you again next week. We'll be previewing Burris-Lee against Laura, maybe some of the quarterfinals as well. But that'll be
yeah. So that quarters don't matter.
Yeah. Okay, that's it, folks. We'll chat to you all again next week. Thanks very much.